Good morning. It's actually the second video I've recorded this morning, but there's been some break just as I finished recording the first one. So the first one I will post in a second, probably in about an hour actually after I've got this one out, because this one's breaking news and it's not unexpected news, I'll be honest with you. It's news that we've kind of been circling for a few days, and it's about Kobbie Mainoo. And the headline is, let me find it, hang on. I've got the dog with me, you'll see that in a minute, which is making this a little bit complicated. I've got to balance stuff. The headline is, Kobbie Mainoo has got no intention of signing a new deal at Manchester United, essentially wants out. He's open to leaving before the end of the transfer window, closes on Monday, and has discussed this with his teammates. United have been considering selling him all summer. So that's quite significant. No intention of signing a new contract, open to leaving, and that would be all she wrote on that chapter, wouldn't it? Like, there is no way back from that. Now, there's an article in The Athletic, and it's by Laurie and Mark Critchley, so it's probably quite well sourced, and I'll just read out what they're saying. So, they're talking about after the Fulham game, Kobbie Mainoo looking pretty dejected. Says you didn't need to be a body language expert to see that. And according to those familiar with the situation, speaking on a condition of anonymity to protect relationships, he's been left deeply frustrated by not featuring in either match so far. Obviously nothing new. Lots of people have been questioning his role with Amorim. And even though he's not part of the bomb squad of Garnacho, Anthony, Sancho and Malacia, and obviously Marcus Rashford, who was part of that, and seemingly Højlund and seemingly Onana. It's like a growing list of bomb squad, isn't it? He has been identified internally as potential departure since the start of the window. So United claim that they're not, or United sources are claiming that they're not actively pushing Mainoo out the door, and staff are happy with him. But like all players, he has areas that he can improve. People at Old Trafford expect him to remain a United player beyond next week's deadline, with the caveat that anything can happen in the final days of the transfer window. Now, then it goes on to say, aside from the pursuit of Carlos Baleba, a dream target who's considered too expensive to prize away this summer, United's season-long, summer-long search for a midfielder has focused heavily on identifying an alternative to Bruno, someone who'd play alongside him, because Bruno's first choice. And then you couple that with what the gaffer said at the weekend about Kobbie Mainoo being someone that's fighting with the club captain, the guy who's never injured, never subbed, never dropped, the guy who plays 90 minutes every week. Yeah, look man, you can totally understand the frustration of Kobbie Mainoo, can't you? You can. I understand the fans. I am a fan. Not saying I'm any different, but I understand a lot of the fan sentiment surrounding the academy record, what's going to happen with it. I don't know, at the start of the week I was feeling like, it feels a little bit overblown this now, but I think that coming out from Laurie will be pretty well sourced. It'll be well informed. It'll have been stood up by multiple people. And there has always been, I mean, I always thought it was a bit from his agent, to be honest. I don't really like the stuff I've heard of and seen of his agent. So I always kind of put a lot of the noise down to his agent. But like I said on XG Files yesterday, things like our academy record exists is because people have been good enough to play. I don't want tokenism when it comes to the academy record. The fact that we've got an 86-year academy record on merit is a beautiful thing. I wouldn't be happy to see Mainoo go. I think there's a real player there. I still think there's areas for him to improve and adapt. And I have my question marks entirely over how this midfield two is deployed. But, you know, this is Manchester United, and there's always going to be question marks. There's always going to be people questioning the manager. Remember Sir Alex Ferguson getting questioned about how he was going to use Michael Carrick. Michael Carrick comes in, right, who was unbelievable for Manchester United. But in the first few months of Michael Carrick, people weren't having him. People weren't having this sideways possession. Get the ball forward. He didn't even tackle. And he's wearing number 16. The sacrilege. How you replacing Roy Keane with a crab? I remember. Some of you don't remember, I remember. I remember all the criticisms of Michael Carrick. I remember people criticising him when he's having 125 passes a game, dominating possession, dictating the tempo of games. People moaning about it. Now, Kobbie's a different situation because he isn't playing. But the point remains of people questioning what the manager's trying to do. And sometimes it's valid. Sometimes you do question what a manager's doing. Ten Hag was questioned about what he was doing with Amad Diallo. And people were right to question what he was doing with Amad Diallo because he was better than Anthony. But Anthony was the one that was playing. Now, it is probably a little bit political. And maybe it needs to be. When you decide someone is the club captain, they probably do need to get treated a little bit different. You have to do a lot to earn it, or you should have to do a lot to earn the club captaincy. And that should mean that you are one of the better players in the team. And it should mean you are relatively undroppable. And it probably should be the only player that gets that treatment. It probably isn't the only player that gets that treatment because big money signings and other political things, players that have played with a manager previously, if they like each other. You know, there's other times and situations and areas where people will end up becoming a little bit on the undroppable side. But the club captain should be one of those. Now, ultimately, like I said yesterday, be undeniable. Be the first in at the training ground, be the last out of the training ground, and work harder than everybody else. If you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I've done that for 6, 12 months, okay, cool, then maybe it is time to move on. But if you're leaving 1%, 2%, 5%, 10% in the locker somewhere, if you're getting off to go shopping in town as soon as training finishes, if you're not watching all of the tape, if you're not working with the strength and conditioning coach, if you're not asking the manager specifically, what do I need to do to get better? What makes me a 10 out of 10 player in your eyes? Well, then you're leaving things on the table, and that's what you need to do. Now the question remains, if Kobbie Mainoo is keen on leaving, and United are keen on selling, where does he go? Because, I'll be honest with you, United have not looked capable of selling, well, anyone this summer. Anyone. Including all the players that we want to sell. Or especially all the players that we want to sell. So, let's go sit here on this wall. Good little view that behind me, innit? I don't know what happens next. I don't feel like it's good for the mood to be selling people who should be the soul of a club like Kobbie. But if you don't want to sign a contract and you're not playing him and you don't fancy him, then what are you keeping him for? I would like to see an academy player come through and be someone that could start for the club. And maybe someone needs an opportunity to take that opportunity. But it's going to be a crazy end to the week. I saw some news yesterday. I didn't feel like making a video about it, but I didn't really have a lot to add to it. You know, Garnacho thinks that he will be a Chelsea player by the end of the window. All right, whatever. And it looks like Betis have managed to secure a second loan with a guaranteed fee at the end of it for Anthony. I don't know how. Feels like we've been mugged there, doesn't it? But I guess it is another one gone. But if Garnacho ends up going on loan and Anthony's gone on loan and Rashford goes on loan, it's going to be a loan for Sancho, isn't it? Because you can't get him. And it looks like it's a loan for Rasmus Højlund. How are all these loans happening? Okay, yeah, you're getting rid of some of the wages, but like, I mean, you paid 80-something million for Anthony. Rashford was an academy player, but you know, he was 2 years ago was a £100 million valuation player. You paid 75 for Sancho. Do you know what I mean? Garnacho if you was trying to buy him from Brighton, it's probably 60, 70 million. It's nuts, isn't it? United's inability to sell players is actually fascinating. It needs studying. It's horrendous. Why are we so bad at it? Anyway, give us your thoughts. Kobbie, it's over.